Now to the latest on the war in Ukraine. Kyiv's forces claim to have recaptured Snake Island in the Black Sea and raised the national flag. Russia says it retaliated with missile strikes on the outpost. Ukrainian President Zelensky today welcomed extra firepower of weapons supplied by Western allies in the battle against Russia. But Moscow says it will step up its assault on the eastern Donbas region.
The blue and yellow of Ukraine flies above Snake Island. Once again, it appears. This tiny strip of land became infamous after the outbreak of the war, after Ukrainian soldiers rejected an ultimatum from a Russian warship. The claimed recapture of the island comes a week after Russia withdrew, in what Moscow called a goodwill gesture. But that goodwill did not last long.
At about 5 a.m., several Ukrainian servicemen landed on the island and took pictures with the flag. Russian forces immediately launched a strike, as a result of which some of the Ukrainian soldiers were killed.
Snake Island sits a long way from the brunt of the fighting, still centered on the Donbas to the east. Here, Russia's ground assault has slowed. Its forces are regrouping after taking Lysychansk, ahead of an unexpected assault on the Donetsk region. But they face a difficult road ahead, as Ukrainian troops reinforce defensive positions with Western weapons.
Finally, we can feel that the Western artillery, the weapons we received from our partners, have started working very effectively. Their accuracy is exactly what is needed. Our defenders inflict very noticeable strikes on depots and other locations that are important for the occupiers' logistics, and this significantly reduces the offensive potential of the Russian army. Their losses will only increase every week, as will the difficulty of supplying them.
Despite the brief pause in Russia's advance, missiles are still bombarding the key cities of Sloviansk and Kramatorsk. For the civilians who remain here, the front lines are now creeping dangerously close.
DW's Nick Spicer is in the Ukrainian capital, and I asked him about the capture and reported recapture of Snake Island.
It's pretty murky, Brent. You know, the Kremlin is communicating, I think, symbolically here, saying that they killed some Ukrainian soldiers while they tried to plant the flag. The Ukrainian Defense Ministry has provided video of the planting of the flag. The Kremlin has made all kinds of claims before, rather implausible. For example, they took out a whole cadre of Ukrainian generals and commanders in one fell swoop, and 10 of those M777 American howitzers in the same strike. And we know they have some targeting problems. And so there is a messaging from the Kremlin which is for a domestic audience that doesn't necessarily correspond to the facts on the ground. And I think it's fair to say that because there's no video evidence provided, and there's all kinds of video about everything in this conflict. But I think is really the takeaway here is that the Kremlin sees Snake Island as something really symbolic because, as we heard in that report, it was where the soldiers held out, acted defiantly towards a Russian warship, which was the Moskva, the flagship of the Russian Black Sea Fleet, which was sunk by a Ukrainian missile a little bit later. So there's a lot of, well, shame or embarrassment around the Snake Island story, if you will. And so the Kremlin seems to be coming back and trying to sort of put a new spin on events.
And Nick, we've heard Ukrainian President Zelensky talking about the positive effect that Western heavy weapons are having. Is it clear, though, that these weapons are making a big difference?
You know, again, there's the fog of war. Nobody is really providing exact details about what weapons are deployed where and which targets they are striking. But we know what weapons they are being sent out into the field, particularly 4 American HIMARS mobile rocket systems. And just if you look at the specifics of them, those missiles are accurate within 1 meter. What the Ukrainians and the Russians have been firing at each other up until now are accurate to within 500 meters, which explains the scorched earth policies that the Russians have been pursuing to this point. What it means practically for the Ukrainians, and this reflects what President Zelensky was saying in his statement, is that if they want to strike a weapons depot, which is what they what he's been saying they're trying to do, they can take out all of the artillery shells, or many of the artillery shells, that the Russians have been using in their scorched earth, sort of, rolling waves of artillery barrages strategy. So it is entirely plausible that they are having an effect. They're not having all of the effect that the Ukrainians would like. They're still asking for more weapons. They're slow in getting delivered, but they appear to be making a difference, certainly if we go by what the Ukrainian president is saying.
DW's Nick Spicer with the latest from Kyiv tonight. Nick, thank you.